All right, guys, welcome back to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. I would like to remind you guys that if you have any questions for me that you'd like to see me read out loud live on air, you can use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net to make it show up across the screen. Or if you just want to help out the creators here at the GSMC Sports Network, that would go a long way to doing so. But without further ado, we're going to get right into our second topic of the night, where we're talking about the Dallas Stars versus the Edmonton Oilers. And yes, this is your other Stanley Cup final contestant. It's the Edmonton Oilers winning this series in 6. They do a very great job at, closing out the Dallas Stars with a very similar or with the exact same scoreline as the Eastern Conference Final Game 6 had. It was we talked about Bobrovsky stealing a game. And now we got to talk about Stuart Skinner absolutely stealing the game. Both these goaltenders were playing amazing, but Jake Onger and Stuart Skinner. But Jake Onger didn't face that many shots. That 2 goals is very misleading when you think about he only faced 10 shots in the entire game. That is this is an ESPN stat, but I gotta say it. That is the lowest amount of shots on goal in a series clinching win for a team of all time in NHL history. And I mean, of course it is. 10 shots on goal for a win. How many teams win with only 10 shots on goal? Not many. There's probably only a handful of times all season. I wouldn't be shocked if there was not a single time all season that a team won with only 10 or less shots on goal. I probably should have looked that up beforehand because I knew I was going to talk about this, but I did not, and now I'm definitely curious, and I will look that up after. But yeah, I mean, the Edmonton Oilers didn't play any offense in this game and still get 2 goals. They scored twice on their first 3 shots of this game. So Stuart Skinner stole this one. He was amazing. He was lights out. Stuart Skinner was fantastic in this one. I think we have him as our second star of the night here. Connor McDavid would be the first one. We'll talk about him when we go back. But Stuart Skinner, we got to talk about right now. 34 saves on 35 shots again. That's an above 9. It's a 971 save percentage. Man, this guy, the last 2 games really prove that he is the Edmonton number 1 goaltender, and he deserves to be in that cage over Calvin Pickard. Last series against the Vancouver Canucks, he was having a stinker. He was having a rough one. So they go to Calvin Pickard, and he plays well. But they go back to Stuart Skinner, and I was, it was a decision that I was curious about. I didn't think that was the right one, honestly. And I think I vocalized my opinion on this podcast that I thought that Calvin Pickard would be a better goaltender in the cage than Stuart Skinner. And, man, I was proven wrong. And I can admit when I was proven wrong, and I absolutely was here. Stuart Skinner, unbelievable, man. 34 saves on 35 shots against. This guy willed his team to the win here, especially when – I mean, that tells a story about the possession. The Stars had the puck for a lot of this game. They dominated this one. They should have won this one. This is just one that you look back. I mean, what else are you going to do? Put more shots on net? Or more than 35? Maybe, what else are you going to do? They had the puck most of this game. They had more shots on net. They outshot them by 25. And they couldn't get it done. So, unfortunate for the Dallas Stars, but very fortunate for the guys north of the border. This is the first time a Canadian team has been in a Stanley Cup final since they were in 2006. I'm not counting the Montreal Canadian Stanley Cup final in 2021 because that was the COVID year, and they were playing in an all-Canadian division, so they were guaranteed to at least make the conference finals. So I don't count that one as much as other people do. The Edmonton Oilers really deserve this one. It was fantastic all around. Let's get into the game breakdown here now. Connor McDavid. Okay. now here's where we talk about Connor McDavid. He is the greatest player on planet Earth, and it's not disputable. If you want any evidence, watch the first goal of this game. I can't show it, of course, because of copyrights infringement, but absolutely astonishing what he did with this first goal. They're on the power play. He gets the puck. He skates it to the pretty much low left dot, right, right next to the goalie. There are 3 defenders kind of in a sea around in a like upside down U around the cage or around the goal. He toe drags towards the slot. All right, he is a lefty stick, so he toe drags towards the slot. There's a defender on his stick, so he backhands in between the second and third defender on his right now. He goes to a backhand, absolutely roofs the shot, and it's perfectly placed. Goes right above Jake Onger. Jake Onger doesn't have a chance on this one. This is the greatest goal I've seen probably all year. Connor McDavid, I mean, this was silky. This reminds you of how much better this guy is than everybody else, and he is much better than everybody else. This is the greatest player in the NHL, the greatest in my opinion, the most skilled hockey player that's ever touched the ice. That guy is something special. He every game he comes out and he does something incredible, and that was his doing something incredible. He gets a point on both goals that they score in this game, a goal and assist in this one. The second goal for the Edmonton Oilers came a little bit later. I think it was a couple minutes after this one, and it's Zach Hyman that gets the goal from Evan Bouchard and Connor McDavid. That's the stat line that we've seen all series long. It's Hyman from McDavid and Bouchard, or McDavid from Bouchard and Nuge, or insert player there. Bouchard and McDavid. This was a takeover series for these guys. I talk about flow state a lot. Just being in that state of everything you touch turns to gold, basically, and they were in that state. And Connor McDavid was in this state. On their first 3 shots of the game, they scored 2 goals in this one. So, stinker from Jake Onger, but not really his fault here. The Edmonton Oilers were just on a different level, and they didn't continue with the offense production. They only get 10 shots on net. They only get 2 shots on net in the entire third period, and they still win the game, and they're impressive in doing so. And you got to give all the credit in the world to the Edmonton Oilers for taking that Western Conference final. You see the picture on the screen right here with McDavid and Draisaitl hugging each other right in front of the I always get the 2 mixed up, the Prince of Wales and the Clarence S. Campbell. One's for each conference. I think that's the Clarence S. Campbell. When I take my break, I'll look that up and get myself right on that. But I always mix them up. I have since I was a little kid. But right in front of the Western Conference Final trophy, they don't touch the trophy. If you guys don't know, it's a long-standing tradition that there's a curse if you touch the trophy. Recent memory shows that there's not. It's been like 50-50 for teams touching the trophy and not touching the trophy, and it's been like no correlation with winning the cup and not winning the cup. But for a very long time, a lot of teams refused to touch the trophy because it meant that you would lose the Stanley Cup final. Teams have definitely debunked that since then. But yeah, in this game, it was dominant from the top end talent of the Edmonton Oilers, and we talk about it in the series preview, and we talk about how that needs to happen. So I'll be a big man. I'll respect my predictions I made were very wrong when it came into these. I was perfect on predictions coming into the conference finals. I got all 4 of the second round perfect. But when it comes to the conference final, I said Stars in 7 and I said Rangers in 6. Both of them did not happen. We have Oilers in 6 and we have Panthers in 6. So the opposite Stanley Cup final to what I expected. But let me tell you, this is one that I'm very, very excited for. When I preview this one, you're going to see how excited I am for this, because I think these 2 teams match up perfectly. And I think that it's going to, blockbuster television is what we're in store for. So the Edmonton Oilers take this one 2-1. The Dallas Stars score in this one off of Mason Marchment goal midway through the third period. There was a little bit of life on the Dallas Stars bench when they scored that one, but nothing came from it, and they just kind of they fizzled out into elimination land with the New York Rangers on the other side and the plentiful of other teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs to not be contending for the ultimate trophy in sports, the Stanley Cup, most people say the hardest trophy to win in sports, and I am on that boat. I do believe it is the hardest trophy to win in sports. Both of these teams have been so close in the past. Oilers making a Western Conference final a couple of years ago, and the Dallas Stars making it to the Cup final in 2020, I believe, was when they played the Tampa Bay Lightning. I always get those two mixed up. It was the Lightning versus the Stars and Lightning versus the Canadiens in 2020 and 2021. I think 2020 was when it was the Stars Lightning, pretty sure. So yeah, for the Edmonton Oilers, it's a huge result. First time being back in the Cup final since 2006. 5-time Cup champions, one of the most historied franchises in the NHL. Not a lot of teams have 5 or more cups. There's the Oilers, there's the Blackhawks, there's the Bruins, Red Wings, Maple Leafs, Canadiens. And that's the list. And that's it. So for the Edmonton Oilers to be on that list is very special. Now they have a chance to make 6 and tie the Boston Bruins at 6. So it'll be very impressive if they are able to do so. Of course, winning 5 Stanley Cups with Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player to ever live, helps them out a lot in their resume, on the resume factor. But for the Edmonton Oilers, very impressive result. 2-1, taking the Western Conference final. They are going to the Stanley Cup final, playing for the big trophy against the Florida Panthers. What a great matchup we are in store for. So when I get back from my second break, we are going to be talking about the Florida Panthers' run to the playoff, what their season looked like, how they got here, and how many games it took to do so, and what players really willed them to this point of their season. So I'll be right back for my second break, and excited to talk about that.